truth is that if they have an opportunity to relieve suffering of people who have nowhere to go, they're going to be, because they should be. And if they don't, we have accountable in ways that may be unfair. If you have an opportunity to alleviate pain, you should do it, period. And if you don't, you're going to lose credibility for a while.
Yeah, and the president has said that the U.S. will provide $100 million in aid. One thing, there's no indication of the duration of these deliveries, Savannah. We don't know how long it's going to last.
Jay, also, I do want to ask about something else I mentioned at the top of the show, which is more Israeli bombs dropping on Gaza. It includes an area that was supposed to be safe zones, that's according to the Associated Press, and then over in the occupied West Bank, there's been a surge of violence as well. What is the latest in both places?
Yeah, and we've seen some of the video from bombs that have struck just a block from hospitals in the area, and that's something, obviously, that it is a very sensitive subject right now after the loss of hundreds in the explosion just a night or so ago. We do know that there is escalations in the skirmishes between Hezbollah fighters and the Israeli army along the Lebanon border. In fact, this morning we know that anti-tank missiles were launched border blitz in the vicinity of the security fence along that border, and that the IDF did respond with artillery fire. So those fights are growing. More troops are moving into that region. You've got more equipment in the area as well, and there is a big concern that this could become another front, another part of this military war. And if that's the case, it's got a chance to spread across the region. Very concerning and very tenuous right now.
Jay, we do also have some new information this morning about that Griffin Hospital bombing. So the White House National Security Council actually took what is a rare step for them of releasing a statement saying Israel was not responsible for the blast at that hospital that killed hundreds in Gaza. They pointed to evidence, it was a group called Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The intelligence video, images of the incident. Is there anything on the ground, do you know, from within Gaza, that there's recognition of that this might have been this accident on that side of the border, or is it still simply being seen as the U.S. backing its Israeli allies?
Yeah, I think that it does, in many instances, feel like people believe that this is just the U.S. supporting someone that they are backing in this war. We could see some of that in the protests that have spilled out across the region. Thousands surrounding U.S. embassies, surrounding Israeli embassies, pouring into the streets, and more protests expected this weekend. So, yeah, I think there's still a lot of doubt, a lot of confusion, and clearly everyone in this region on edge and not ready to just accept what's being said.
Jay Gray, thank you very much for reporting this, Houston. For more, let's bring in Martin Fletcher. He's a former NBC News correspondent and bureau chief in Tel Aviv, and we have been tapping into his expertise since this crisis unfolded. Martin, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to start with the president because Biden is set to give a foreign policy address tonight. What do you expect to hear from him following his trip to Israel, and what role the U.S. is trying to play in the war between Israel and Hamas? But also, this is being billed, as I mentioned, as this foreign policy address. There's a lot going on right now throughout the globe that's not just this particular conflict. What do you think we'll hear?
Well, I think the United States is getting deeper and deeper into two major conflicts, of course. Ukraine already going on for a year, and what's happening now, very suddenly and sharply and bigly here in Israel and Gaza. So that's what we're going to be talking about. His message he already delivered to Israel could not have been stronger in terms of support for the embattled Jewish nation. Israel needed to hear the support from President Biden, and he's been providing in a dramatic way ever since the beginning. I mean, not only what he's saying, that Israel has a right to defend itself and indeed the obligation to defend the security of its people, but that America will back them all the way, even to the extent of sending battleships into the area as a kind of deterrent against Israel's other enemies, in particular Hezbollah and Iran. So President Biden has already given Israel pretty much everything they wanted. But at the same time, there's another message from him to them too, which is do not occupy the Gaza Strip. He's given the green light to Israel to attack, to reduce the power of Hamas. But from what we understand, he has not given Israel the green light to invade Gaza.
You know we've got the DJ up there giving it their all hours of the day and night, and they're playing to a fraction of the crowds they should be. We need to promote this night. Run some promotions off of the app and get the crowds back in, okay?
5 or 6 of these engagements would be like mini skirmishes between Israel and Gaza, none as big as this one. And calling up entire reserves of the Israeli army is a very expensive thing for Israel to do, so they've got to do it or not do it soon. But certainly Biden has been persuading Israel, trying to persuade them, if you go into Gaza, do not stay there, it'll just make things a lot worse. And the question, on a wider question you asked about mostly Ukraine, and we're talking about also potential confrontations in the east with China or with Taiwan. There's a lot to unpack in America's foreign policy right now. All of it boils down to one thing that I think, which is that America is still the leader of the free world, and that's an expensive and difficult responsibility. But President Biden seems to be taking on his shoulders, and we'll see what he actually can, what America is capable of doing if this region does degenerate into a full-scale war. Because America has said repeatedly, we don't want to get involved in another war. Nevertheless, American warships off the coast threatening to respond if there's any kind of violence from Hezbollah, from Iran. So this region is on the abyss of a major conflict.